The United States is currently in a energy crisis, and our petroleum exports in 2020 were 650 million barrels per day of petroleum, which was greater than our petroleum imports, but only by 3.6%, which is not much, and it was the first time since 1950 that we have had more exports than imports. Petroleum products are going to be anything from crude oil, gasoline, diesel fuel, heating fuel, jet fuel, chemical feedstocks, asphalt, biofuels, and a few others. So it's also having impacts on our foreign relations because we produce close to 15 million barrels per day of oil, and we are consuming over 18 million barrels a day. So that's leaving about 3 million barrels of petroleum that we have to get imported daily in order to keep up with the status quo for the American citizens. So with a total of around 6.63 billion barrels of petroleum on a yearly basis, this leaves us with a growing need for imported oil. And the more we import, the more it's increasing in price due to its limited availability, and it's not being created by the earth as fast as we are using it. So we are slowly but quickly running out. Another issue for that is that if we rely very heavily on others in order to get our oil, they can use that against us, and then that is showing weakness within our government, and we don't like that. So we are going to have to find an alternative. In 1920, we consumed 2.7 quadrillion BTU, and in 2006 that jumped all the way to 35.3 quadrillion BTU. But in the year of 2020, in 14 years, that more than doubled and jumped to 93 quadrillion BTU in 2020. And so our global electricity generation for 2050 is estimated to be 123% and 150% increase. So making it just stressing the issue more that we need to have a cleaner, alternative, cheaper way of producing this energy. Otherwise, we will then come to peak oil, which is a theory by Maren King Hubbards, and it's the idea that we will use the resource up faster than it's being created, and so we will then have none left. And this is estimated to happen with our usage around the world and within the American peoples, that we have about 5 years that we can use oil at the rate we are, and then it will be completely gone. And it's affecting our planet greatly because burning this oil and putting it out into the world is causing extreme weather, such as like heat waves, floods, droughts, forest fires, because it's warming up our earth, creating a blanket in our atmosphere. And yeah, so a way to get around that, a way to get around the carbon that's being put into the air, because no one likes carbon dioxide, are things such as plants, oceans, and soil. So plants, for example, are a carbon sink, and they can grab carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and they can use it in their photosynthesis. And oceans are a major carbon storage system for carbon dioxide, and marine animals also take gas for their personal photosynthesis. And then some can also simply dissolve in the seawater And then finally, soil can get carbon transferred from the plants as they die and decompose. So our earth can absorb it as it's getting put out, but not as fast. So another reason for why we need a cleaner energy. So a viable solution is going to be wind energy. There are two types of wind turbines that are essential for our future. We've got horizontal axis wind turbines, which are going to be our common ones that you can see around, which they have 3 or more blades and they spin with the wind, and that goes to a generator, which then powers things around it. And then there are also vertical axis wind turbines, which look more like an egg, and they don't have to be adjusted to point in the wind or anything in order to work, because they can go from all directions by using the aerodynamics. And this all works because of the air pressure for both works by the air pressure going across the blades, causing lift and drag, and it forces the rotor to spin. And by connecting the rotor through a series of shafts and gears, you can speed up that rotation and put that into a generator, harvesting the energy from the wind. And so for the viability of using wind turbines, looking at a projection for 2050, it is viable and can be deemed efficient in all 50 states, with the potential to support over 600,000 jobs within manufacturing, installation, maintenance, and supporting services. This would save customers from that buy energy about $280 billion by 2050, and also reduce air pollution emissions, which would be around 250,000 metric tons of air pollution and 12.3 gigatons of greenhouse gases within that 30 years. In addition to that, it preserves our water resources and would save us around 260 billion gallons of water, which is a very much needed resource, as we are also running out of that. So it would be helping us in the long run greatly. And then finally, the wind energy deployment increases community revenues, because local communities will be able to collect additional tax revenue from land lease payments and property taxes, reaching around $3.2 billion. So for ease of production, it is a struggle to some extent, because if you want a large wind project, you have to plan it out. The wind surveying needs to be done, and you want to have it in a viable area to have the most efficiency possible. And this wind planning and going through the monitoring, lead time, design, site preparation can take up to 2 years. Well, yeah, take up to 2 years, and they should be monitored for at least 12 months. The time can be shortened down to 12 months, but that is the shortest time possible for an efficient windmill or wind turbine. It does have environmental impacts. For their large size, they can hit birds out of the air, which can cause deaths. Furthermore, they have slight noise pollution, which can cause animals to move away from their habitat if they live nearby. And then finally, the last environmental impact is visual impairment. If you're trying to get a nice view of the sunset, the windmill can be in the way. So moving on to price, with a hefty fine, they're going to be around $4 million up to, and that would cover the initial fee and the cost of installation. So it would be a great cost to start, but they have a 20-year lifespan, and the investment is returned in around 15 years. So that leaves you making profit for 5 years, giving you positive wealth. And not only are you then making money with cleaner energy, the price point per kilowatt hour is going to become 1 to 2 cents compared to energy cost as of April 2021, where they were as low as 9.33 cents and as high as 22.54 cents. So we're going to be reducing the cost of energy per kilowatt by a multiplier of 10, and this would ensure cheaper and cleaner energy for our citizens. So looking over at our benefits, it would not only produce clean energy, but it would lower energy cost, it would pay itself off, makes profit over 5 years, it decreases in carbon emissions, it supports jobs, it supports more than 600,000 jobs, and wind power capability has grown 15% in the last 10 years, along with turbines can be placed in all 50 states. Concerns, on the other hand, are going to be our high upfront cost, threats to birds, and the fact that wind is not always flowing, but that can be overcome with batteries, and the 2 years of research for max efficiency to survey the land and get all of that juicy information needed. So sources of information are included with a PowerPoint attached. Yes,